Alright, guys, it is time to talk about. You guys know what time it is already. It's time for fucking Toriko.
Oh yeah, Toriko.
Yeah.
So
Or should I say Toriko?
what?
Huh? Tiger, aka
Oh
Midora. Haha.
yeah. So what did Mitsutoshi have in store for us today?
A
Well,
fucking lot.
a lot for one thing, but now the biggest issue people have been having with these last couple of chapters, because it's the only issue people can find with these chapters, is the fact that these chapters seem out of place. They seem like, okay, shouldn't this be safe for when we get to like area 1 or 2?
Mm,
You know, and it just seems okay. But Mitsutoshi pulled off the greatest troll in history, of recent history, I should say. And that is, he made the entire fandom believe that he was going to attempt to fast forward the series and skip over important plot stuff or important stuff just so we can skip to the end and get all hype about it. Because people were worried about that it was going to get canceled, so he was quickly finishing it. No, this entire segue from the cooking competition was done for one purpose.
mm-hmm.
Not and that well, I mean, yeah, there was many things that we were able to learn from this, but it was all set up to set up one thing in particular. And that was the hype of Don Slime's power.
Yep.
Like, you knew this guy was important for Area 6, and you figured he must be pretty important, a person, or say food spirit. No, he is the most important food spirit. In fact, he's a gourmet demon, specifically Ichiru's gourmet demon.
Yeah.
What?
Is it time to
So,
change your name to Don Slime 92?
no,
Just kidding.
no. But Don's and this is and you're like, well, okay, he's Ichiru, so we gourmet demon, so that's pretty hype. But no, that's not the hype of his power. The hype is that despite all of the various powerful creatures on this planet, both human and not human, Don Slime is said to be the only thing on Earth that can currently go toe to toe with Akashia
Uh-huh.
and possibly defeat him. That is the hype of Don Slime.
Yeah.
So that is why this was put in now. That is why it was important to know all of this information, because each of this stuff was meant to hype up the threat level, to raise the threat, or should I say the sense of danger, to its peak, and then say, oh well, this character's coming in that can save the day and it's not Toriko, it's not Midora, it's not anybody but Dawn Slime.
Yep.
Oh my god. So now, if this most likely leads us to believe that since everything's now been brought back to Area 6 by mentioning Don Slime, it's presumed that next week we'll be going back to Area 6, which is good in the fact that, okay, now we'll be able to get back to the rest of the Area 6 arc and be able to progress through the areas normally. However, I still sort of want to see Midora versus Joa,
Uh-huh.
especially with when we have the most badass line of Toriko in a long time. And I'm gonna paraphrase it because I can't. I'm not obviously I didn't memorize it word for word. But basically, Midora said that he is going to cause so much damage to Joa that the fear of Midora will be etched in his DNA.
Yeah. Let's
Like,
just take a moment to appreciate that. Okay, moment's over.
oh, no, remember. Now, here is the most important fact to note about Midora. In, now, out of the three disciples, he was supposedly said to be the weakest. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Now, but he's the only one that we know of, or should I say, that we know, has had any of Akashia's full course. He has had air.
Yeah, and that's it.
No, there is no other record stating that any of them have had any, like Ichiro and Jiro have not stated at any point, or it's not been stated about them that they've had any of Akashia's full course.
Mm-hmm.
As for Midora, he hasn't had any up until Toriko gave him air. So that means that not only is, like, for Jiro's, that is his power being held back by not special knocking that he will now have to undo. But there's a possibility, because we can't confirm for sure at this point, but there's a possibility that he could get even stronger if he eats Akashia's full course.
Oh yeah.
Now, what we can say for I am 90% sure of this, but I'm safe to assume that none of the disciples have had God.
Oh yeah. Definitely.
It's safe. I can safely say that none of the disciples had God. So none of them have completely eaten it of Akashia's full course. But in terms of Jiro and Ichiru, we have no record of them having any of the other ingredients of Akashia's full course.
Yeah.
Now, as for the fact that if you look back at the flashback, Midoriya's flashback during the Cooking Festival arc, it is pretty much the context might make you think it's like they were, because since Midoriya was presumably found in the human world and brought by Froze and then brought back to the house, everyone assumes that it's the human world that this house resides. But based on the circumstances of Froze's death, where Midoriya goes off to Area 1, which is where we know where the Deirus is and the location of the heal water, in order to get heal water.
Uh-huh.
So, and the fact that he got seriously injured by Deirus and somehow lived, it would have been physically impossible for Midoriya of then to be able to sustain that amount of damage and be able to travel from Area 1 to the human world. So he had to have, the house they lived in had to have been somewhere in the gourmet world.
Yeah.
Possibly Area 1, possibly Area 2.
Yeah. I think probably Area 1. That's my guess. I always thought it was in the gourmet world, but
I
I don't
mean,
know.
but it's not something that was really, mentioned, and not something that many people talk about, because, and this is why it's really hard to tell whether or not Ichiru or Jiro have had any of the full course, because since they were much older than Midoriya and were obviously training under Akashia longer, and presumably this house is in the gourmet world, there's a high chance that they would have had an opportunity to have some of the ingredients of Akashia's full course.
Mm-hmm.
But at this point, we don't know.
Right.
So, that means that their overwhelming power has the potential to get stronger. As for Midoriya, we 100% know that he's only had air.
Yeah.
So, that means he could easily get far stronger. Which, honestly, if Midoriya were to survive this fight with Joa and somehow able to eat the remaining 7 ingredients of Akashia's full course, I would actually feel bad for Akashia. Because Midoriya would become beyond OP,
Oh
and I'm
hell yeah.
talking in Toriko standards,
Oh yeah.
because Meteor already has the power to destroy the Earth, or should I say the Toriko Earth, and that was assumed of him. That was stated of him, mind you, prior to eating air.
Mhm.
So it's pretty safe bet that he's gonna be able to do some serious damage to Joe. I mean, he's already done some pretty. I don't know how he could top Meteor Spice, but he plans on doing it.
Could we
And
see a
then
Minority World from him?
maybe, I mean, what about what about the possibility of utilizing Minority World with Hungry Space?
Mhm.
Like, just eat everything. Be
Yeah.
gone. Like, if anything, Midora has the potential to eat this world at this point.
Yeah.
I mean, Akasha, he looks like he could destroy the world, and the little things on him, which in this chapter we find out are called the Neo, hence why the organization called themselves Neo.
Right.
Neo, which I'm also assuming is the name of the gourmet demon, has the potential to eat the planet, but the power that Akasha wields could easily destroy the Earth. So now, Midra, if he defeats Joa, whether or not Joa is dead or not is irrelevant in this situation, because if Midra defeats Joa and is able to move on unhindered by Joa to Akasha, there's unfortunately only one way it could end, and
Yeah.
that is in Midra's death, because even if Midra kills Joa, it's still Akasha's not Midra's fight.
Yeah.
Akasha is the fight is meant to be taken down by the four heavenly kings, not
Mhm.
not by Toriko, but by the four of them together. That is how they are going to defeat Akasha. We are going to see once again a fight, a 4-on-1 fight for the Heavenly Kings against a single entity. Now, you could sort of say they did that with Bambina, but that was more cooperating than actual fighting.
Yeah.
The last legitimate time they actually had a 4-on-1 fight was against the Four Beasts.
Mhm.
Because they for those of you who've read the manga and haven't seen the anime, in the anime they had some random plot. They changed the ending of the Cooking Festival arc and had the four Heavenly Kings fight Joa, but that didn't actually happen.
Yeah.
So, and they didn't fight. It's not like they fought Heracles together. It was just Toriko. So at this point in time, it's been since the Four Beasts arc,
Mhm.
which in fact the four would this if they do fight Akasha in the foreseeable future, that would mean it would possibly be only the second time in the series that we see them fight together to face one opponent. Because, I mean, it's presumed that it was stated how they would fight together. They used to fight together when they're in their training days,
Right.
when they were younger. And them fighting together to take on the Four Beasts was the first time since their training days that all four of them fought together.
Yeah.
So that means that they might not fight, because see, the Four Beasts had held such an intense significance for not only the four heavenly kings as being their last training ingredient, but had significant for the human world and the world in general.
Mhm.
So that means when they only fight together against an opponent, a singular opponent, when the stakes could not get any higher. And at this point, now that they all know that Akashi is the bad guy, and that he's planning on eating this planet, isn't going to be another situation that, other than fighting Akashia that's going to require them that level of seriousness, that level of power, and that level of cooperation.
Mhm. Yeah, but let's not go too far off track here with that because
But that's the whole point of all of this chapter, was to showcase that it's not going to be an easy fight in any stretch of the imagination.
oh yeah, I know that, but I think we're detracting a little too much from the main point here. So let's
So,
yeah, get
what
back on track.
will happen next? Will Midora defeat Joa and go on to take on Akashia, or fight him, stall him, talk no jutsu him, whatever? Who knows?
Mhm. Him, her, it.
Well, Akashia's a guy.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean,
Now,
yeah.
as for Don Slime's importance, obviously being stated as the person, the thing, the singular thing that could go toe to toe with Akashia and possibly win, obviously he's going to be important.
Uh-huh.
But what will he actually do? Will he do something about Akashia? Or will he just stick to the sidelines?
Mm,
And if he does something, obviously, since Akashia is the final villain, he's not going to outright take him out. So,
oh
what
yeah.
is going to this? It just creates this scenario with like, okay, Akashia is ready to start eating now, and the four heavenly kings haven't have only had two of Akashia's full course. They're gonna need the whole course if they want to beat Akashia.
Of course.
So overall, this chapter was insane.
Hell
I
yeah.
mean, you friggin' the little tiny piece that came off of Akashia required Jiro to use a technique that could possibly do in some insane damage to the planet. And all it did was send it flying, still alive, mind you, into space, and it still managed to have enough time to bite off Jiro's hand.
Yeah.
So, Akashia is no joke. I mean, we already pretty much figured that out several chapters ago,
Mhm.
but this really shows it. Like, the fact that Jiro has to unseal his true power,
Yeah.
and that he already could destroy the planet, it's just scary.
Yeah, that's pretty insane.
And yet, it's still not believed that Jiro could beat Akashia. That's even more scary.
I'll say.
So, I know we've been rambling on, but there's just so much potential in this one chapter created, and just the mind blowing stuff that it put into perspective for us, that it's just too hard to not. It's almost impossible to not talk whatsoever.
Yeah.
So let's just hope you enjoyed our ramblings, and hope to see you for next week's, probably even, well, maybe not as insane, but amazing chapter of Toriko.
Hell yeah. All right. So this is some supplementary material. I didn't really get much of a chance to really review the chapter of my own accord. I kind of just sat back and let Don do most of the talking in this one. Well, all pretty much all the talking. So I figured if you guys really want to hear my personal opinions, I'm just gonna pretty much quickly throw it out there. This shouldn't be too long, so you guys can probably tell by the upload uh, timestamp. So anyway, um, the whole meteor spice thing, it was awesome. I mean, it was followed up well, and I think just in general, like the fact that it made Zeus come back to like come to his senses. So like we did find out a little bit more. I think that's the whole taste change thing is actually brain control, and I think the same may have happened to Tepe. Um, so now that we know it's possible to do something like that, I think maybe Tepe had the same thing done to him, unless we've been heard otherwise. But so Zeus has come back to his senses, and Midora just doing his thing is just great. The whole thing about Jiro, it's like the whole hype between Jiro and Midora is just insane, where they can easily destroy the planet, and yet that thing that we're calling Neo was able to eat his hand is just wow. Like it's this like Toriko's getting insane with its powers right now, like for its standards, of course. And Setsuno just has like casually gives them cure water, so I think they have quite a bit of it. Of course, it does seem like we do pretty much have confirmation that the Planet Eater thing is Akashia and his demon perhaps fused. But we do know that Akashia is active, and what that is his demon. So I think I predicted that a long time ago, but we'll see. Um, Not that it wasn't like relatively obvious, but anyway, uh, the whole thing about Don Slime and being Ichiryu's freaking stand, I mean, gourmet demon, was just, it was such a crazy reveal. And yeah, we're definitely going to go back to Area 6 now because there's going to have to be something going on there with Don Slime and what is he going to do uh, in Area 6. So, um, and one other thing to note is, you know, where does Toriko's blue Oni fit into this? I'm not gonna really talk about it, but I'm just gonna throw it out there. So like just for thought. So where does that fit in all this? So yeah, that's honestly it. This was a fantastic chapter. Hopefully we'll get back to Area 6 next chapter because now that we've had the setup. So thank you guys for listening to both of us, and see you guys next time.